Darren here with some exciting news from Nikon at CES. They just announced their D5 and D500 flagship SLRs. So the D5, as you might imagine with the single digit number 5, is a new flagship full frame camera with FX size sensor. So it is going to be very good in low light, so much so that it goes to not 1, not 2, but over 3 million ISO. That's absolutely crazy, and I'm sure it's going to be very interesting to use. People have already been enjoying Sony's A7R2 and A7S2 in low light, which is already crazy, hundreds of thousands of ISO. So now Nikon's one-upping it, millions of ISO. So we're going to see how useful it is. The extended ISO range obviously goes up to millions, but the D5, it goes up to 100,000 in standard mode and extends to 3 million, and in the D500 it goes from a standard range of 50,000 and expands up to 1.6 some odd million. So we'll see just where the usable sweet spot is. But both the sensors come out at just under 21 megapixels. This is really interesting. Nikon is not playing the resolution game anymore. They are strictly going for better image quality because, as many people know, just increasing the pixel count doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better overall quality. In some cases, yes, like the A7R2 from Sony, they up the pixels, they include backside sensor illumination, and it's looking to be very fantastic. But if you keep the megapixel count low, you can improve the overall dynamic range and low light abilities in many cases. So in this case, it's going to be really interesting to see just how these sensors perform. So looking forward to that. Other tidbits, they kept video users in mind. Both these cameras do 4K video internally, as well as they can send out uncompressed video. I believe it's 8-bit 422, but let's see if maybe those specs stay that up until launch. There's also this new AF system that's 153 points, the same system in both cameras. Both cameras have Bluetooth, or is it Bluetooth? I think the D500 gets the Bluetooth, which is this active, low power, always on, or if you switch it on, it'll be always on. And so you can actively transfer photos as you're taking them to like a smartphone or a tablet, so you can quickly upload things. And then the D5, it might also have Bluetooth, but they're really advertising this other functionality for wired and wireless LAN. The wired LAN can do like 400 megabits a second out of it, and then with the optional wireless module, you can still do like 130 megabits over 600 feet. I'm gonna guess there's gonna be line of sight or other, limiting factors for what distance you actually get reliably, but it's still pretty darn cool, especially for event photographers that want to be running around and have an assistant doing all the uploading and tagging and all that stuff. So that can be very useful. Price-wise, these cameras come in at $2,000 for the D500, which is the crop sensor, and then $6,500 for the D5. That's a big price difference, over 3 times the price. So it's going to be tough for the average person or even the average professional to justify the higher price for the D5. But typically, the single-digit series like the D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are meant for those higher level, I don't want to say higher level photographers, but photographers that have the need for the specific purpose or just the budget for them. So for most folks, I know that the conception has been that crop sensors, smaller than full frame, isn't professional. We are way beyond that point. And Nikon is squarely pointing the D500 as well as the D5 at professionals. It doesn't mean you don't have to be a professional to buy them, of course. You can be a big enthusiast, but still, the crop sensors, they are performing absolutely great. So it's gonna be interesting to see where these guys rank in overall performance. But if you want to get an idea, the D300 or D300S, which is what the D500 seems to be replacing, that's an excellent performer, and that still sells for $1,700 if you go look it up. So the resale value has held up quite well because it's still a great performer. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm very excited to see these cameras. Another little interesting tidbit about the D500, it's the first time I've seen Nikon or even Canon in a pro level advertised camera actually have a non-fixed rear LCD. They put in a tilting LCD and they claim it to be very strong, which is great. Typically, the pro-end DSLRs, aside from Sony, Nikon and Canon just haven't wanted to make anything that pulls out. And they also made both cameras touchscreen, so that's interesting. I'm not a big fan of touchscreen, but it's nice that you get the extra functionality if you want to use it. So this is Darren, and we're going to see what else comes out of CES, and this has been Nikon's D5 and D500.